I'm going to be quite honest with you here, my friends. I don't like to get too negative in my videos, but I really don't like Oxford Street. It's just too busy for me. I find it incredibly frustrating trying to get from one end to the other through the throngs of people. And I'm not the only one. Unlike other major shopping centres like Westfield and Bluewater, Oxford Street is first and foremost a street. Wow, Oxford Street is a street? I never knew that, said the viewer sarcastically. But the point I'm making is that it wasn't built with the slow and frequently stopping shopper in mind. The road came first, the shops came later. With the opening of Crossrail, whenever that is, it's anticipated that crowds are only going to get worse. This is before we've talked about the high pollution and the danger to pedestrians from traffic. The central line runs the length of the street, but it can get pretty crowded and hot, not to mention difficult to use for mobility-impaired passengers. There are buses, but traffic jams and, again, crowds can make them a not entirely pleasant experience. Various solutions have been proposed. Total pedestrianisation has been suggested on several occasions. One idea was to introduce lanes for walking, fast and slow. Private and public authorities have suggested that roads elsewhere might be altered to accommodate the traffic that currently uses Oxford Street. In 2010, building a new underground dual carriageway was proposed under then-Mayor Boris Johnson. What became of that guy? Architect Brian Avery had an idea in the early 80s to build a roof over Oxford Street, pedestrianising the street beneath and letting buses run on top. Nothing came of this, and I have to say I'm not entirely unhappy about that. I'd imagine it would be pretty unbearable in the summer. One idea that keeps cropping up is a tram line or light railway along the street. Although I don't know why people keep saying light railway. As far as I'm concerned, if it runs on a street and it's on rails, it's a tram. Or a cyclist whose wheels got stuck, maybe. I suppose that. Sorry, what was I talking about? Yeah, a tram is not a bad idea. It would reduce the need for buses and the amount of emissions. Ken Livingstone proposed one running from Marble Arch along Oxford Street, stopping frequently en route. The problem with this is that it would be expensive to implement. Laying tram lines involves dealing with a whole mess of pipelines and cables under the road surface. And unless you're going to also pedestrianise, you have to consider how it will interact with the road traffic. In 2005, something more radical was proposed. KBR Architects proposed an overhead monorail. Monorails are a pretty venerable invention dating back to the 19th century. While we didn't get the futuristic network of high-speed monorails predicted by the likes of Jerry Anderson, they certainly have their uses. The big advantage of this proposal over the tram concept was that it would be elevated some 50 feet above street level, so traffic could pass safely beneath. It could ignore traffic lights and intersections such as the busy Oxford Circus. While it would be elevated, the narrow profile wouldn't cast too much of a shadow on the street below. It is to be hoped. The architects envisioned stations built into the sides of buildings, linked with the ground level by escalators or lifts. Monorails do have their disadvantages, hence the fact that they've never really caught on to any widespread degree in Europe or America. The main problem in this case is cost. Monorails tend to get caught in a kind of vicious circle of pricing. They aren't very common, so equipment and maintenance are expensive. And that in turn makes them less attractive to potential builders. But they are well suited to medium capacity traffic, such as, say, taking shoppers up and down a street. As you can see, nothing came of this. I feel that the time to make it happen would have been before Tottenham Court Road Station was rebuilt, so Crossrail, the Underground and the monorail could be integrated. As for the future, well, the pandemic has rather changed the way the city operates, perhaps forever. As you can see, while Oxford Street was busy when I filmed this. It was hardly rammed. It's hard to say how the West End will change. Is the current downturn just a blip, or is it indeed the new normal? I wouldn't want to predict what's going to happen over the next decade. But I think the really important question is this. What do you call it? We have an underground and an overground. Should we call this the above ground? Let me know in the comments section. Hi all, I hope you enjoyed this one-track episode of Tales from the Tube, and if so, there's a lovely little like button and a subscribe button very close at hand. Would you like a monorail on Oxford Street or a tram? Is there anywhere else that could benefit from a monorail? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, and I'll see you very soon for another Tale from the Tube.